refused to go on our vacation relatives because my sister invited her new boyfriend, my ex-husband who abused me. She said, "We'll just give you your ticket to Mark. My parents got on your side." So I canceled all tickets. My name is Amber, and at 29 years old, I am what most people would call successful. I have a great job in a marketing company, a nice apartment in the city, and enough money to live comfortably. What I no longer have is a husband, and honestly, I'm better off without him. I divorced Mark a little over a year ago, after 3 years of what I can only describe as hell. We met at a party, a friend when I was 25. He was lovely, funny, and seemed to have his life in order. It was months later that we got married. And it was then when everything almost changed. Immediately after our wedding, Mark started dating a new group of friends. These guys were bad news. Always drinking, never working. Very soon, Mark arrived home drunk almost every day. Nights when I confronted him about it, he got angry, not only annoying but terribly angry. There were threats, things that I never thought I would hear from someone who said loved me for too long. So I supported him, invented excuses, and tried to help him. Then came that last night when he stumbled in at 3 in the early morning, reeking of alcohol. Goodbye, he stammered. Collapsing on our sofa, something in me broke. That's all, Mark. I'm going to apply for the divorce. I can't keep doing this. What happened next is something that I still have nightmares about. He pounced on me, his face contorted by rage. I won't go into details. But I ended up with bruises all over my body, and a doll twisted. When he finally fainted, I ran to my friend Kelly's apartment at the end of the block. From there, I called the police and went to the hospital to document my injuries. The divorce was quickly finalized. Mark moved. He was ordered to take anger management classes, and me, I tried to rebuild my life. My parents and my little sister Lily were there for me in everything. Or at least I thought. Last month, during dinner at my parents' house, the idea of a family vacation in Florida arose. Just the 4 of us, me, my sister Lily, 26 years old, and my parents, Robert and Susan. We thought June would be perfect, said Mom, shining with excitement. Can you imagine 2 weeks of sun, sand, and sea? Dad cleared his throat. We hoped you could take care of the plane tickets and Amber's hotel rooms. You know what our situation is. Not the best at the moment. It was not an unusual request. My parents have financial difficulties. The small hardware store Dad owns is barely staying afloat, and Mom's part-time job in the library doesn't generate much income. Lily works as a receptionist and always complains about being broke. Meanwhile, I earn good money as a marketing director. Of course, I can do it, I said without doubt. I was used to helping them financially. Last month, I paid for the repairs on Dad's car and Lily's mom's dental work. I can't wait to swim in the ocean. It's been years since we had a real vacation. Over the next 3 weeks, I put everything in order. I organized my free time from work, booked for plane tickets to Miami, booked hotel rooms, a double for my parents, an individual for Lily and me. I even bought a new swimsuit and started researching restaurants and attractions in the area. A week before our departure date, I received a message from Mom. I need to talk. Please come to dinner this evening. Your message is important to me. Worried, had something happened? Was someone sick? I replied that I would be there after I worked and spent the rest of the day distracted, wondering what it could be. When I arrived at the modest house, my parents' suburban house that night, I was surprised to find not only Mom and Dad waiting but also Lily. She was practically jumping with excitement, with a huge smile plastered on her face. What is happening? I asked, looking at them. Is everything okay? They exchanged looks. Let's talk over dinner, Dad said, leading me towards the dining room. Mom had made my lasagna, my favorite. What immediately turned me on nervous meals and our family favorites usually preceded conversations difficult. Then I once said that we were all sitting. What's the urgent matter we need to discuss? Dad breathed deep. Well, darling, there has been a little change of plans for our trip to Florida. We are going to add a person, Mom continued without looking at me. Lily's eyes could no longer hold back, uncommitted. She snapped, raising the left hand to show a modest ring with diamonds. And my fiancé comes with us to Florida. Oh, I said, genuinely surprised but happy for her. Congratulations, Lily. I didn't even know you were dating someone seriously. Who is he? Lucky. The room was left in silence. My parents looked at each other. Lily's smile nervously came back, petulant. In fact, you know him quite well, she said with a voice full of satisfaction. It's Mark. My fork fell loudly on my plate. Mark, my ex-husband. Mark, Lily nodded without her smile. We've been dating for 3 months, has changed. Amber, he's not the person you were married to. The room began to give turns. My ex-husband, the man who had me beaten, the man you still side with. I had nightmares. Now I was engaged to my little sister, and my family acted like this was normal, as if it were something to celebrate. You can't be serious, I said, looking frantically at my parents. Do you know what Mark did to me? Were you in the courtroom? During our divorce, you saw me in the hospital. You saw the bruises all over my body. How can you say that? Daddy moved uncomfortable in his chair, but he didn't say anything. Lily rolled her eyes dramatically. Mark told me everything, she said, leaning toward me. He said you were the abusive one. You hit him regularly, and he was only defending himself. That night, he didn't have the intention to hurt you. A laugh escaped me, a harsh sound, and bitter. Are you kidding? I'm 1.62 meters tall and weigh 50 kilograms. Mark measures 1.88 meters and is built like a 90s linebacker. How exactly would I dominate? Lily cringed, shrugging. I believe in myself, your fiancé. I repeated the words flavored with poison. The man who threatened me, the man who sent me to the hospital. The past is the past, said Dad finally. Mark has been attending your anger management classes. Now he's sober. People change, Amber. I pushed my plate away, my appetite completely missing. I'm not going on vacation with him, is my last word. My parents exchanged another look, and I shrank. Good stomach, Mom said slowly. We thought you might feel that way, and we respect your decision. But we are going to go, Dad added. We will simply give him your ticket to Mark. Lily nodded enthusiastically. And you will have to return to book hotel rooms. Instead of 2 singles, reserve 1 double for Mark and me. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Betrayal was so complete, so unexpected that it left me without words. I couldn't believe these people, my family, were choosing my abuser over me. They were asking me to pay for his vacation. Let me get this straight, I said with a strangely calm voice. You want me to cancel my own holidays, for which I have already organized time off work, and instead pay for my abusive ex-husband to go? I got up from the table. My hands were shaking, but I was determined not to collapse in front of them. You know what? I have to go. I grabbed my bag and my jacket and headed towards the door. No one tried to stop me. No one yelled. They just let me go. I left. I went home, blurry-eyed. I was still waiting for the tears, but instead, I felt a cold, hard anger growing inside me. By the time I got to my apartment, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I poured a generous glass of wine and sat in front of my computer. First, I canceled the 4 tickets I had booked for Miami. Then I canceled my hotel reservations. I took screenshots of each cancellation confirmation, attached them to text messages for both Mom and Lily, and sent them. Your vacation plans for June are now null and void. Yes, I would lose the deposit money, but it was worth knowing that they would not be enjoying a vacation on the coast while I was excluded. It took exactly 15 minutes for my phone to start exploding. First, Mom called, then Lily, then Dad. I ignored them all, silencing my phone and enjoying my wine. When I finally checked my messages an hour later, what I saw only confirmed that I had made the right decision. Mom's right. How could you do this to your family? You are a terrible daughter, selfish and spiteful. We are better off without you in our lives. Lily's better off without you. Jealousy. You lost the best man in the world, and now you can't stand to see me happy with him. You're dead to me. I snorted at his words. Mark, the best man in the world. He had no idea what I was thinking. Strangely, I felt relieved as I blocked their numbers. For years, I had been their emotional and financial support. I pay for emergencies. I listened to their complaints. I resolved their problems, and this was how they repaid me. They turned their backs on me when it suited them. A week passed. I kept my vacation time approved at work, but I had no idea what to do with it. While I surfed social media one night, I saw a post from Lily. There they were, Lily, Mom, Dad, and Mark, standing in front of my parents' house with luggage at their feet. Lily's caption read, "For real family vacations only, people important, no dead weight." Various family members had commented, asking where I was and why Mark was there. None of them responded. There were confusing messages from family and friends. What could I say? That my family had chosen my abuser over me. That they had erased the violence I had experienced. It was too humiliating. Instead, I made a decision. I wasn't going to stay home while they were having fun, even if it was in another destination. I booked a last-minute flight to Cancun, Mexico, 2 weeks of sun, sand, and loneliness. As the night of my departure approached, I felt a mixture of emotions, anger for the betrayal by my family, sadness for what had happened, and a strange sense of freedom. No more obligations. No longer would I be responsible for anyone. For 2 weeks, I would only answer to myself. On the morning of my flight, I deactivated my social media accounts and set up an automatic response in my email. I wasn't going to waste my vacation checking updates or messages. This was my time. When the plane took off, I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt the tension leave my body. Whatever drama was unfolding with my family and Mark wasn't my problem anymore. Mexico was exactly what I needed. I spent my days resting on virgin beaches, swimming in crystal clear waters, and exploring Mayan ruins. At night, I dined alone in beachfront restaurants, enjoying fresh seafood and margaritas. I didn't check my email for 2 weeks or use social media. I barely touched my phone except to take photos of sunsets and sea notes. The complex I stayed at was adults only, meaning no screaming children and plenty of peace. I made casual acquaintances, a couple from Canada and a solo traveler from Australia, but mostly I stayed alone. I read for novels, got a tan, and for the first time in a long time, I slept without nightmares. It wasn't until my flight back home that I turned my phone on. When it connected to the service, it exploded with dozens of call notifications, missed calls from my parents' landline, numbers I didn't even recognize, and worried text messages. The most recent one was from my mother, sent yesterday. Call me as soon as you receive this. It's an emergency. I ignored it after all. Her idea of an emergency was probably Lily breaking a nail or needing money for something. But a persistent feeling in my gut made me dial my mom's number. Once I was installed in my apartment, unpacked, and showered. Amber. She answered after the first ring. Is that you? Yeah, Mom. What is it? What's the emergency? I kept my voice cold and distant. Oh, thank God. We've been trying to contact you for days. She said, it's about vacation and Mark. I'm not interested in listening about their wonderful family time with my abusive ex. I said, about to finish the call, but I was stopped when Mom's voice raised. It was a disaster, Amber. You were right about him. She paused. The story came to light. They went to a cheap beach resort in South Carolina. The first day had been good, register, enjoy the pool, dinner, but on the second night, Lily had returned to the room early with a headache while my parents and Mark went to the hotel bar. He said he was going to the bathroom, Mom explained, but she was gone for over an hour. Dad went to check on her and couldn't find her. He came back to the room to see how Lily was and found her hysterically crying. Mark was in bed with one of the hotel employees, a young woman who had registered them before. There was a big scene. He continued, Mom, Mark started yelling at Lily, insulting her. When your father tried to intervene, Mark pushed us all. He threatened us. He told us we would regret having disgruntled him. Then, he simply left. He packed his things and disappeared with that woman, not me. I wasn't surprised. But I was surprised that they seemed surprised. Well, they got what they deserved. Mark, it has always been Mark. That's not all, Mom said with a dull voice. The next morning, your father and I discovered charges on our cards, credit cards, thousands of dollars. But how? We keep our PIN written on our wallets, admitted Mom shyly. Mark must have seen them, made large cash withdrawals from our 2 cards before leaving. Could I avoid it? I laughed. It wasn't funny. Not really. But the irony was too much. Then you're telling me that my abusive ex-husband, whom everyone defended and elected above me, not only cheated on Lily but also stole from you. We were wrong, Amber, Mom said, her voice low. We're going to press charges against him for the theft, but I doubt we need your help. We don't have money for the trip back home, and the credit card companies won't refund us until the investigation is completed. And there was the real reason for the call. It wasn't to apologize or make amends but to ask for money. Let me understand this, I said, feeling surprisingly calm. You disowned me. You called me names, terrible things. You chose my abuser over me, and now you want me to rescue you. We are family, Amber, said Mom, as if that explained everything. I responded, you made it very clear that we are not family. You told me I was dead. I'm not going to give you a single penny. I hung up and blocked their numbers immediately. During the days following, I received calls from aunts and uncles and family friends, all telling me how my parents and sister were fighting, how they needed my help. Like the family had to stay together, I blocked every number as the calls started, appearing first at my apartment, where the doorman refused to let them up according to my instructions, later in my office, where security escorted them outside. It was exhausting and embarrassing. But I stood firm. Miss Mishi, the security guard at my office said after taking my father out of the building for the second time, "Would you like us to add members of your family to the denial list permanently?" I nodded, feeling a strange mix of sadness and resolution. "Yes, please, and thank you for handling this." I discreetly did the same at my apartment building, asking the janitor not to allow entry for my parents or my sister. It seemed extreme, but it was necessary. They had demonstrated that they had no limits or respect for my feelings or experiences. As the weeks passed, I found out through rumors what was happening to them. Mom and Dad had asked to borrow money from relatives to pay off their credit card bills. They had filed a police report against Mark, but with few hopes of getting their money back. Lily was seeing a therapist, apparently devastated by Mark's betrayal, as well as my abandonment of the family. I didn't feel anything. Maybe that makes me cold, but after everything that had happened, the abuse, Mark manipulating my family, the betrayal of my trust, I was empty of sympathy for them. One night, while I had dinner with my friend Kelly, the same friend who had sheltered me the night I fled Mark, she asked the question everyone seemed to avoid. Do you think you would ever reconcile with them? They are your family, after all. I considered taking a sip of my wine. I don't know, I answered honestly. At this moment, I can't imagine it. Kelly saw my bruises, heard my stories, knew what Mark did to me, and still, they chose him. While walking home that night, I felt lighter than I had in years. For so long I had carried the weight of my family's needs, their expectations, and their problems. Now that weight had disappeared. I was responsible only for me, responsible only to myself. It's been 3 months since that call. Autumn has arrived, bringing cooler temperatures and changing leaves. My life has settled into a comfortable pace: work, exercise, dinners with friends, weekend outings. I've even started leaving the house again. Nothing serious, just coffee or dinner with interesting men who make me laugh. Last week, I got promoted to Senior Marketing Director, a position that came with a substantial increase in my salary and my own office. I celebrated by buying a pair of ridiculously expensive shoes that I had been eyeing for months. Before that, the money probably would have gone to helping my parents replace their old water heater or to getting Lily out of her credit card debt. I still hear about my family from time to time. My cousin Jamie calls every few weeks, being careful not to push for reconciliation, but just keeping me updated. Dad had a small health problem, high blood pressure, nothing serious, but it required medication. Mom got more hours at the library. Lily returned to live with them after breaking her lease. Apparently, I could not pay the rent alone as much as possible. Significant is that the research on the police about Mark's robbery had gone nowhere. He disappeared completely, probably with his adventure from the hotel, and had not used cards or accounts traceable since. My parents' bank refused to cover fraudulent withdrawals since my parents had written their PIN. A clear security policy violation from the bank. Your mother asked again for you. Jamie said during our last call. She wanted to know if you had changed your number. I haven't, I answered. I just don't answer your calls. Jamie doubted. Lily has been having a bad time. She has been diagnosed with depression. I felt a brief pain of sympathy, quickly suffocated by the memory of her smug face when she announced her commitment to Mark. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I said it seriously. I didn't wish suffering on my sister despite everything, but I'm not ready to be there for her. I understand. Jamie sighed. I really do. They ruined. I muttered. Yes, they did. After that call, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, looking at the city lights flash while twilight fell. Part of me wondered if I was being too harsh, too relentless. Family wasn't supposed to be seconds opportunities. But then I remembered my mother's face when she discarded my bruises as exaggeration. I remembered my father's silence while he let it happen. I remembered the text messages and social media posts. Lily's cruel feelings. I didn't decide I wasn't being too hard, finally. I was valuing enough to establish limits. My therapist, whom I had started seeing after all this drama, says that that's healthy. You are not excluding them out of revenge. She said during our last session, you are protecting yourself from people who have proven that they cannot be trusted. Well, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had gone on that vacation in Florida as it was planned. Mark would have shown his true face. My family would have finally seen him for what he was, or would they have kept making excuses for him? I would have spent 2 weeks pretending that everything was fine while I was dying inside. I will never know, and honestly, I'm glad canceling those reservations was the best decision I could have made, even if it was not for the right reasons at that moment. Yesterday, I received a letter from Royal Postal Mail, handwritten with a local postmark. It was from my mother. I recognized her neat handwriting on the envelope. I almost threw it away without opening it, but curiosity got the better of me, and I found myself sitting on my kitchen counter, carefully opening the envelope with a knife. Dear, it started. I don't know if you'll read this, but I had to try one more time. The letter was 4 pages long, my mother's writing in front and behind it. She wrote about how wrong they had been, so blind. She detailed the ways in which Mark had manipulated Lily by isolating her, gradually from her friends, filling her head with lies about me and about our relationship. She described how, after he left them stranded in that hotel, they found a small bag of pills in the room, drugs that they didn't know he was taking. We should have believed you, she wrote. There is no excuse for what we did. We betrayed you in the worst way possible, and we live with that knowledge every day. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for sorry. She just asked if one day I would be willing to talk, including her new cell phone number at the end of the last page. I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. Then, I placed it in my desktop drawer. I wasn't ready for an answer. I wasn't ready to decide. This morning, I woke up, made coffee, and checked my calendar for the day's meetings. I had a lunch scheduled with Kelly for a presentation with a client in the afternoon, and dinner with Alex, a man I had been casually dating for a few weeks. While I was drinking my coffee on the balcony, watching the sunrise paint the sky in roses and oranges, I felt happy. Not happy exactly. There was still a sadness in me for what I had lost, or more accurately, for what I had never had. A real family that would choose me, parents who protected me, a sister that believed in me, but I had built a good life. I had friends who supported me, a career I enjoyed, and a home that felt like my own. I had surely freed myself from the obligation to constantly rescue people who wouldn't do the same for me. Will I ever call the number that my mother left in that letter? I don't know today. Probably not tomorrow, maybe not for months or even years. I'm not there anymore. Angry, at least not furious. That's progress, I guess, but I'm not ready to let them return to my life. The trust once broken so deeply won't repair easily, and I'm not sure I want to strike to repair it. For now, I'm focusing on myself, in healing, in building relationships with people who value me, who believe me, and who respect my limits. Maybe one day I will be ready to have a conversation with my mother, to hear Lily's apology, to look my father in the eyes again. But it will be on my terms, when I am ready, and with the clear understanding that I am no longer the one who fixes the family problems. I'm no longer the one who's the bank. I am no longer the one who sacrifices her own well-being so that all others feel comfortable.